Morning.
Good morning. It looks like Roger.
Yeah.
I was anticipating laptop trouble, so I thought I'd try to log in early. I didn't realize I'd be the first one.
No, good to do that. Things don't always work the way they're supposed to work.
Yeah.
So have you been impacted by the smoke or anything?
Oh, very much so.
Where do you live?
Hollywood district?
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think we were hanging right around 500 as far as the air quality index. Got the house all closed up.
Yeah.
But boy, last night it sure, with the rain, it sure improved.
Yeah, it was nice to have that.
Yeah. Before it all started, we were headed to Camp Sherman. And we checked it before we were going to head there, and it was like near 1,000.
Wow.
Twice.
Set up on Mount Hood?
Camp Sherman is near Sisters. It's where the Metolius River starts.
Oh, okay.
We were headed fishing and kayaking, but nevertheless, we canceled.
Obviously.
Yeah. Well, how are you doing in your recovery, Roger?
I'm doing good. It's I think I'm far ahead of schedule. I can drive now, which is a big thing.
Oh, for sure.
So, but my right side is still pretty weak. And
With exercise, is it expected to regain close to full strength?
yeah, I'm going to physical therapy twice a week and working on ankle strength and leg strength. And I do home therapy on my hand and arm and stuff.
Yeah, you have a good-looking physical therapist?
I had a lady come out to my house before I could go out, and she was quite nice. So
yeah,
my wife goes to physical therapy, and I'm using the same therapist as she does.
Oh, okay.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Hi, Arnie.
Hi there, Howard. Good to see you.
Yeah. Have you been impacted by the smoke and fires?
Yeah. I had to drive down to California for some medical stuff. 600 miles of smoke on the way down and 600 miles of smoke on the way up. So,
that you must be going near San Francisco then, huh?
yeah, we had to go down to Palo Alto.
Okay. So you couldn't get away from the smoke at all, even down there?
No, it was less than here. It was like, I think it was 229 or something when we were down there. But on the way back up, it was so bad we wore our masks in the car, even though we had internal air circulation. It just seeped into the car.
Yeah.
So, but it's pretty clear today. I can see a couple miles from the house.
Yeah. Where do you live?
McMinnville, outside.
Oh, okay.
They're slightly elevated where the house is. I can look out over the valley. So
Hard to believe. My indication is that the air quality where I am is 46, compared to 250 or 500 where it was the last couple of days.
yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, I think my wife said we were 50, 56, something like that today. So go outside without a mask.
Yeah, I'm actually at 20 here. I'm in Beaverton.
Whoa, good.
Yeah.
No,
The other day we had to drive out to near Clackamas to a veterinarian, and like every mile we got closer, it was thicker and thicker. So I think the closer we are to southeast, the more the smoke is there.
We have a cabin up in Zigzag, which is past Sandy.
Uh-huh.
yeah.
We're up there last weekend, and they've been out. PGE shut power down from Sandy to government camp for 6 days.
Wow.
So we ran on a generator for the weekend, but it was really bad. Visibility was only like 100 yards driving up there past Sandy.
Oh my gosh.
So you couldn't see stoplights and things like that ahead. Yeah, it was quite devastating for the whole state. You guys been doing a turning?
Yeah, I started doing some hollow forms, some spheres to almost totally round using carbide tips, and worked much better than I expected it to. So
You guys take advantage of the wood sale and get any of that wood?
yeah, I donated those 2 pickup truck loads, and then I went and bought some. So it's kind of crazy to scratch my head, but the nice dry wood, nice to have as well.
Yeah. Did you get the figured box or non-figured? Yeah.
Figured, yeah.
Even the non-figured boxes had pretty good figure.
That was pretty amazing of Les to do that. I mean, that's probably $15,000 worth of wood he gave away.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't give it totally away, but he gave us a tremendous discount.
Yeah.
I think for all that we paid, I don't know, $4,000 or so.
Wow.
And so we've already made our money back, and we still have half of it left, so we'll do good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, the criteria they use for figure is 50%. So if something is less than 50% figured, they put it in the non-figured box. So
non-figured still pretty good.
yeah.
Yeah, when I picked my wood up the other day, I think about half the wood had not even been put in boxes as yet.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to get rid of.
Yep. How you doing, Jim?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good.
And how are the rest of you guys?
Doing well.
Breathing better.
Yes, a little rain helps.
Yeah, a lot. I would expect to be more guys on by now.
Yeah, I see Jason trying to come on. Harvey,
Hey, Roger, how you doing?
doing good.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, I wanted to compliment you on the Mike Meredith or the Mike
Yeah.
Mahoney demo was that was a really good session.
Oh, he did a good job, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a personable guy, and it was kind of fun to get a variety of stuff from him.
Yeah, he had a number of good tips and stuff that the most surprising one was his demo of sharpening a bandsaw blade.
I felt the same way. Yeah. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys had it, but Cascade, their demo, they had Mike Mahoney on Thursday night, and he gave a really great presentation on a number of things. But one thing he talked about was how to sharpen the bandsaw blade. Just a matter of minutes. So, he obviously goes through a lot of bandsaw blades, but, he showed how to just touch each tip to your grinding wheel just for a second, and said, in 5 minutes you can do an average bandsaw blade and make it work just like new.
Wow.
The other thing I thought was, just an aside, but amazing. Somebody he's a production turner, and he makes platter blanks for other people to turn. And somebody was pushing him on how many he makes. And I think he said, well, hemmed and hawed. And then he said he worked most of a day the other day doing them, and he turned 700 of them.
Jeez.
So, okay.
In a
That's-
day?
In a partial day, I think he said. Now, they're not finished turnings or anything like that, but that's a lot of wood to just lift up and down off your lathe.
Yeah.
I thought what was amazing, he said 90% of his income comes from selling wood to other turners.
Yes.
I mean, he said the whole economy for turners has changed over the last couple of years, and he the only finished pieces he does these days are for commission work. But he turns platter blanks and bowl blanks and sells them to you and I.
Who's this?
Mike
Mike
Mahoney.
Mahoney,
Oh,
your namesake?
Yeah.
no, not really.
He was Cascade's demonstration last Thursday.
Has he gotten past the shoulder problems he was having?
Apparently, because he's doing a lot of turning now.
Oh, that's
But-
good.
But we're just commenting. He said 90% of his income now comes from just selling platter blanks and bowl blanks to turners.
Well, that's a logical extension of the carry-out food industry. You know, wood
Yeah.
industry.
But he says all the blanks that he sells are they're perfect. There's no flaws. There's it's just perfect wood. And he says he sees a flaw, he just throws it away.
Okay.
Okay, we're getting more people on.
If every blank was perfect, where's the fun in that?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Where do you find that kind of wood?
Well, that quarter sawn white oak that he had was pretty interesting. I've
Yeah,
never seen that before, but that was beautiful wood.
and his explanation of how to cut quarter sawn I thought was quite good.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's interesting the difference between the reds and the whites and how utterly different they are.
Yeah.
Those rays.
Yeah, I learned that kind of the hard way. I got from one of the club's auctions this beautiful piece of oak, and I turned like it's an 18-inch salad bowl out of it. And I was so pleased. It was one of the biggest pieces I'd ever turned. It wasn't a great turning, but it was better than I had done to that date. And we put a salad in it, and the stuff leaked right through the bottom. It's red oak. Huh.
Yeah, I like red oak for furniture building. That's what I use. Almost all the stuff I do is red oak. But white oak for turning. Mike Porter had a big white oak tree that went down in his yard 2 summers ago, and we went out there and cut that and got some beautiful pieces out of that.
Nice.
I still have several pieces of that out in my spalting garden.
Yeah.
They're due to come out from under the blanket this summer.
Mm. He
That was
talked
Mike.
a lot. Go ahead. Mike talked a lot about the medullary rays and the oak.
Yeah.
And we were back east when we got out of grad school and had, typical graduate students, no money and stuff like that. So we were buying used furniture and refinishing it. And back east, they had tons of this factory produced oak furniture, and the quarter sawn oak was easy to find, and it had these beautiful ray patterns on it. So we had lots of that around the house.
Oh, one time that was the standard for the mission style furniture. It was tinted, sort of gray brown, Southern California standard. That's all quarter sawn oak,
Oh, wow.
and because the smoking, that's not smoke actually, but the smoking process highlights the medullary rays.
I don't think smoking
they would-
would be a popular technique right now.
That's what it's called. It never was done with smoke.
They fumed it with ammonia.
Ammonia.
I did
yeah.
a project last summer where I did that. Stinks.
Yes.
Yeah.
But apparently when they first started doing it, they did it in horse stalls. And
Yeah.
the ammonia from the horses would cause it to darken.
Oh, no kidding.
The process was originally discovered because someone was storing lumber in their barn, and the cattle and the horses put enough ammonia in the air that the wood turned dark over time. The way you get around the smell, if you want to do the ammonia, is you set out little dishes of hydrochloric acid, open dishes, and pull the ammonia out of the air.
So that seems like an example of the cure potentially being worse than the disease.
Well, you do it carefully. That's the simplest way to do it. It also will work for the smell of smoke you have in your house now.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Huh. How does that work?
These are all basically basic molecules. And in the air at the surface, they interact with the hydrochloric acid and they become insoluble. So it literally just, you'll see the dish turn brown over a day or two.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Also works really well if you have a toilet backed up in your house and you can't get the plumber out in time.
Oh.
Don't ask me how I know that.
Yeah. Huh.
So I didn't get any questions by email, but I don't know, is there any topics you guys want to talk about today? Or we can just make up something.
I got a question about transferring patterns for pyrography onto round surfaces.
Yeah.
That's an interesting question.
Well, when we had,
Janice
what's her
Levy.
name? Who'd we have in February?
Janice Levy.
Yeah.
She talked about that. Should have come to the class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I was there. I just didn't care at the time. I thought it was interesting, but it wasn't a point of interest, but now it is.
One way she did it, really quick and dirty way, is you crumple up the paper ahead of time and wrap it around there. If you got a really small thing where you need a big curve, then you cut relief cuts into the paper the best
Right.
you can.
Was she using graphite behind it?
Yeah, you need something there. There are some methods where if you have a Xerox machine, not that if you copy something on a Xerox machine, the back of that has ink, and you can use like a heat gun to
Ooh.
heat that up and transfer. So you have to have a laser printer. It doesn't work with a inkjet printer.
Okay.
But I think the graphite paper is the best, and I think you get the best transfer. This takes patience to transfer.
I do some lettering on pieces, pyrography, and I fiddled with trying to, and what I really like to do is slightly follow the grain pattern. So it's both a curved surface and it's curving up and down in another dimension. And I just wasn't able to work it out. But with lettering, I know how to move my hand. So I'm not actually trying to run the pen over a line. I'm just trying to get the spacing out. So I got thin masking tape and just sort of forced it into the curve and then marked it off in even amounts so that I would, you don't want one of these plan ahead kind of things when you're writing something around the bowl. So
Harvey,
that works for me. Yeah.
Harvey, you essentially created a graph paper surface using masking tape.
Exactly. That's a much better way to say it.
What are you making, Tom?
I'm just farting around. It's interested me for a while, and so I bought a gun, and I'm just kind of diving in, seeing what happens. But the round surfaces are giving me problems. When you lay your pattern, it kind of turns one way or another, and the graphite's messy, but I just probably don't have a grasp on how to do it
Yeah.
yet.
Or you have a very good grasp on how it doesn't work.
That's true.
Yeah, one thought that occurs is if you could print it onto a clear sheet of acetate and then shine a light on it, you could use that as a tracing capability.
Like an overhead projector.
Use like a light to project it onto the piece, and then draw it with a pencil on the piece.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Clever.
That'll actually take care of a lot of the surface idiosyncrasies and still keep it looking right.
It makes sense. I would have never thought of that. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Good.
I have a question. Has anybody had any experience in resharpening carbide tips?
Well, I just saw a video on the Rockler.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Rockler just did a video on that.
You can, for $20, you can buy a little kit from Rockler that has a carbide tip holder and I think they said 1200 grit little sharpening stone.
Yeah, that stone is either, I'm trying to remember, it's carborundum or if it's diamond.
I think they said diamond in the video.
Yeah, it's out diamond. And then basically you just sharpen the top of it. You just rub the top over the stone. You don't really need a holder. You can just take your finger and press it down on the stone that way and just rub it back and forth.
You should be able to sharpen them with one of the diamond honing cards.
Yeah.
Yep. Just a flat diamond card would do it.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing, is just using the flat stone with some mineral lubricant on it.
Yeah.
Marginally successful, but I didn't know if there was another way to
I
get
actually tried doing it on my wheel, and it would put a dent in my wheel. So no more of that.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's no good. Wow.
No, and if you try to do the angled edge, you actually have a more chance of putting notches into it, assuming you've got something that'll actually sharpen it. Most router bits and carbide cutters, you want to just take off the flat edge, and that way you keep the same shape, and you still get that sharp edge.
Okay.
I have such a hard time remembering that. I grew up sharpening knives where you sharp both sides of the blade. And I always want to do that. And it's wrong, like the video on sharpening bandsaw blades that Roger mentioned. Same thing. You're just sharpening the top of the tooth. You don't need to sharpen in the gullet.
Yeah.
But I forget that.
What kind of wheel was it that you, or stone was it that you dented?
It was the white.
The good quality ones. Okay.
Yeah.
I was using the stock black. I don't know what they are. I thought they were aluminum oxide or something like that. The ones that came with my $50 slow speed grinder, and I had a dressing tool that kind of looked like a disposable razor that would flatten it, and it was recommended that I upgrade to CBN wheels, and they were expensive. They came from D-Way, and you pay for their quality, but boy, I'm glad that I did. Those, I think it stands for carbon boron nitride. Mike could probably correct me.
Cubic boron nitride.
Oh, okay. And boy, they are nice. The balance is immaculate, and there's no grooves or dents. I don't remember what I paid for them. Like I said, they weren't free, but they sure are nice.
They're expensive. Back on the carbide tip, I don't think that works on a negative rake tip that you get from.
Actually, it would work the same way, but the problem is actually getting the negative rake angle correct.
Right.
And maintaining it. So this is a job for someone to invent a holder that you can set the angle on.
Yeah.
Actually, Bridge City makes a blade holder for their little tiny block planes.
Oh.
Actually, I've got one. I could try it. I bet that would work. It's a little, it's a tiny little plane blade.
Yeah.
And the holder is even smaller.
Huh.
But
And
how wouldn't the sharpener?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, wouldn't the sharpener need to get into the cup, so you couldn't use a flat stone on the Hunter? Because wouldn't you be sharpening?
The Hunter ones you wouldn't try that with.
I thought, I'm sorry. Never mind.
There's actually just rotate the blade, and when you run out of blade, buy a new blade for
Yeah.
heaven's sake.
Right.
Yeah, they're only like 15 bucks.
Yeah.
You know, I made my own negative rake scraper. I use it for the inside of bowls. So it's kind of don't know what shape that is.
The bowl scraper shape.
Yeah, the inside of it. So it looks like the top of a butter knife type of thing.
Yeah.
And boy, getting that sharp on both, and working that on the wheel is just maddening, trying to get that to come around the curve accurately.
Use a
That's not
platform?
something you can use a jig on either. It won't work.
Yeah, speaking of which, and that's one of I should have sent the question to you ahead of time, Roger. I want to get a 40/40 grind on that. I bought a new tool,
Ooh.
5/8 inch bowl gouge. It's very nice.
Uh-huh.
It's one of these cryo things that I read about that they're supposed to be pretty good. I don't know what you folks think
Pinnacle
about.
tools,
Say again.
the Pinnacle brand or Taylor.
It was a Crown, I think.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
But so I'm trying to get the 40/40 grind on that. And I don't know if anybody has been able to do that on it. I've got the one way, the Verigrind jig, and trying to get that figured out.
Well,
Just so
Mike-
happens I have
Mike found a good 40/40 jig.
the 40/40 jig attachment.
So
And
how,
it does work.
How does
So
it work?
I saw that, Mike, and I maybe I just need to look at the YouTube video a couple more times. But obviously setting up the 40-degree angle on my rest there is not a big deal.
Yeah.
And you can use the jig for that. What's confusing me? Well, so first of all, do you use that? Do you ultimately use the one-way Verigrind jig after you set your angles with
The only
that?
thing this does is set up the jig to give you the 40/40 grind. Okay, so you put this edge on your flat plate,
Right, and that on the wheel.
give you a 40-degree angle. Okay?
Right.
So you make a flat spot on the nose, you turn it over, and you make your flat wings, 40-degree wings. Okay. Then you put this in the Verigrind to this point here, and the Verigrind goes in the holder, and you set the distance back and forth of the Verigrind by adjusting it so that these 2 points are on the wheel. And you lock your Verigrind, then you put your gouge in the Verigrind with that much extension, and you sharpen, and you get a 40/40.
So here, and I'm willing to invest in one of those. So here's a thought. Now, I don't know when our next open shop is, but if someone's got one of those, I bring the tool along and we do a little demo.
Actually, at the last open shop I had this. Bill Carroll was my 40/40 grind expert, and he inspected it and he says that's as good as you can do by hand. And it really is easy. It's fast. So
Wow.
yeah, I was thinking, all right, why couldn't we actually scan this and get someone who has a router
3D printer.
Yeah, a 3D printer or a router set up to make these. I don't like Ron Brown that much that I wouldn't impinge on his idea. Although he does
you
have
can-
business to sell products, so what can I say?
actually, with a CNC machine, we can crank them out.
Yeah. Yep.
Pardon the neophyte question. What is a 40/40 grind?
The 40/40 grind is a grind made famous, in part to be obstinate, I think, by Stuart Batty.
Stuart
They
would never be
included-
honest.
The included bevel on the nose is 40 degrees, and the wings are from the point straight back at a 40-degree angle, so 40/40. And it's I was never a great believer in it until I could actually make one myself, and I was actually fairly impressed. When I got this thing, picked up a nasty old high-speed Chinese shit tool and put the grind on it. Picked up the first piece of wood on my floor by my lathe, and it was an old, dry, half sapwood, bark included piece of English walnut, my least favorite wood in the entire world. And I got this thing rounded down, and I just put it at the bottom and cut the entire outer edge in one stroke.
Whoa.
And I said, okay, well, this might be okay.
Yeah.
It's like any other tool. You learn how to use what it'll do, but it's, like these are what, $30, which is outrageous considering what it is.
So Dean, what angle, what kind of tip did your crown tool come with? Is
It was much. It was almost in the shape of a bottom bowl gouge. I mean, it was just very.
Well, I mean, that's the classic bowl gouge tip, right? So, and Crown being a classic company, that's what bowl gouges used to look like.
The other problem I'm having, you talk about just, God, I've been doing this for 2 years now. You'd think I'd get a little better at it. The wing on the.
I learn something every time I go to the lathe.
As I was doing this, the wing on one side of it isn't straight across, straight up. It goes up. It's got a little peak in it, and I don't know if that I just need to say again.
Are you sharpening with a jig or by hand or?
Yeah, with a jig. I got the Varigrind jig, and I don't know if I'm just not rotating the thing well or what.
I mean, even with a jig, it comes down to you're the human, so you have to control the process.
Yeah.
And you watch, and if you've gotten I think what has happened, if you check the alignment of your of the holder that the bar goes into, you find that it's slightly off center at the back. So you have one side that's a little closer to the wheel than the other as the jig rotates. That's the hardest thing about it. Who was it? Woodturner's Wonders has this plate that you set up your sharpening system on. So everything is straight, flat, and square. Ultimately, that becomes the controlling aspect of the the jig process.
Yeah.
Also, it may be that you're trying to make your wings too long. How long?
Yeah, I rotate it all the way around.
Well, sometimes you don't have to. You rotate it until you're done. If you go past it, if you got one side that's closer to the wheel, it will start cutting into the.
Now that I think of it, and I think the math through in my head, Mike, that makes all the sense in the world. Because what happens is I go so far around that it creates a different angle there, and it causes the peak.
Right, you get a little jig.
That's got to be it.
That's something you don't want. I mean, you don't want the concave part of a cutting edge.
I'm actually, it's the other way around. I'm getting it so it's convex on the top. But even if it was convex and a nice curve, I wouldn't mind. This comes up, has a little peak.
Here, it'll start to shallow out and try to re-equilibrate the angle across. But I'll bet you it's something like that.
Yeah.
The
I'll work on that. Here, I just bought this new tool. By the time I'm done fixing this thing, it's going to be down to a nub.
That's why you start out with the cheap little Chinese tools until you figure out how you want to sharpen it.
I was going to say Harbor Freight for sharpening practice.
There you go.
I know the crap they sell at Woodcraft, the Wood River tools, those things are not safe at any speed, but they're good to sharpen with. I've never used one on a lathe.
So what's wrong with them?
Okay, Chinese high-speed steel.
Not an oxymoron.
HSS, high-speed shit. Problem with Chinese high-speed steel, Chinese high-speed steel is an oxymoron. The difference, the thing about high-speed steel is the balance between leftover carbon and the alloys. Well, the alloys, I bought one years ago, and I actually broke it hitting it on my workbench. It just shattered. I sent the shards of it to some friends of mine who still work for the steel company I used to work for, and asked them to do an arc spark analysis of it. And he said, well, this might be, they gave me a specification number for an Armco steel product, said, that would be this very good steel, except it's full of carbon. So the carbides in the steel are so big and so plentiful that they make it brittle. And it just, you know, is not worth it. But for perfecting the edge, the shape is fine.
I'm sorry if I'm dominating the sharpening conversation here. So I had bought a bar. It was by Uxel. I don't know if that's Chinese or not.
Now, Excel is actually made by a specialty steel company in Pennsylvania.
Good. Because what I did is I used that. I created my own tool that's got the perfect angle for my
Dovetail.
the tenon. Yeah, the dovetail on my
tenon. Yeah.
And I've used that, and boy, that not only does it maintain sharpness very well, boy, the tool works great. So
what was
myself on that?
What kind of steel was it? Do you remember the letters? S2, D2, A1, A11.
Oh heck, cannot recall. I can look it up, but
As I say, where'd you find that?
Oh, you can find tool steel all over the internet.
Oh yeah, and in fact, I don't know if I found it on eBay or if I found it on Amazon or I found it through some, but it was, I mean, this is like a 1/2 inch wide and maybe 4 millimeters deep, something like that. And I got it for like $8.
Yeah.
And it's 200 millimeters long. So it's like 8.5 inches or whatever that works out to be, something like that.
So that's a good idea. I mean, I've taken a really cheap, the kind of tools you get from Penn State, one of the parting tools, and made a dovetail angle out of that, and that works good. You know, one thing on sharpening that Mike Mahoney showed us was, sometimes after you sharpen it for a while, you get the tip of your gouge becomes pointy.
Yeah,
and I always thought that was a bad thing and tried to get rid of the point. His comment was he likes a point on the tip of his gouge. And the other thing, what he shows was the secondary bevel. You know, sometimes you grind away a relief on the back of the tip. He makes his secondary bevel really, really short. And with the point, he says it enables you to get into like doing the inside of a bowl much, much easier, and avoid skipping out like if you miss the bevel. So I thought that was sort of interesting.
Yeah, it was an odd looking shape. He had a view looking down on the flute of the gouge, and it had this sharp point, and then also the wings flared out away from the flute, so there was a lot of steel laterally on the side of the wings. Very different than what I was expecting to see.
Was that
with the jig, you can't get that grind with the jig. You have to do it freehand.
Was that presentation recorded?
It was recorded, and with luck and counseling from Roger, it will be available to people in a week or so.
Okay, so some of the demonstrators don't like to have you record it and put it up. He's okay with that?
Yeah, he was very nice about it, said it was fine.
Will it be available to our club?
I'm sure we can work that out.
That'd be great to be able to have that available.
Because I didn't make that one, so.
Yeah, no, he did a good job. If you wanted to know the history of walnut trees,
yes.
At the end, he told you a lot more than you probably ever want to know about walnut trees.
See, that I would have enjoyed hearing. So.
No, it's pretty fascinating what he was talking about. He was saying in 20 years we'll no longer be able to get the kind of walnut
right
wood now.
Yep.
Hey, Mike.
The wild type walnut, there's a disease going around that's killing wild type walnut the way that the chestnut tree was eliminated. But there are a lot of the crossbreds, the Claro and the Bastogne and some of the other walnut hybrids that are resistant. So personally, the old walnut wasn't that great compared to the new ones.
Yeah, I think Mike was saying too that it's nut growers' practices. They're using a different rootstock.
Oh yeah.
Paradox.
And so they're phasing out the existing rootstock, and I think he thinks a lot of that rootstock has been supplying woodworkers.
Yeah. Well, the rootstock changes about every 20 or 25 years.
Yeah.
I mean, for years it was just plain old black walnut, like all the English walnuts here were grafted onto just wild type black walnut, the indigenous black walnut that we had in the Northwest. Then the hybrids began appearing. Claro is a hybrid. It's an English walnut, black walnut cross. And that was the stock du jour for many years. And then the Bastogne walnut replaced that because it brought the tree to fruit 2 years sooner than Claro. So they're constantly, well, that time to fruit that's a big deal.
Yeah.
If you can bring a tree to productivity a year sooner, that's 1 year's, sunk cost. You don't have to invest. So we will continue to see varieties of walnut appearing. And they're starting to do that now with almond trees, all of the nut trees. Most of the nut trees are grown on same root. English walnuts are the exception to that. But some of the other nuts,
meaning no separate rootstock?
Yeah. They're grown on it's like the grapes, right? The same root grape is a thing of the past because of phylloxera. Basically, the same thing kind of happened with the walnut tree. But other nut growers are starting to experiment with different rootstocks on almonds and cashews, particularly cashews, because they are very slow to come to production. They also, as global warming hits, more and more areas are now becoming eligible to grow cashews, which is the high profit nut. The wood is not very attractive. That's the downside.
I was gonna say, what's a cashew tree look like?
It looks like an almond tree, except it's got the white blossom and the sort of spade-shaped leaf. But their growth requirements are much more demanding.
On the subject of unattractive or boring grain patterns, I have several projects I'll be doing where the turnings will be pretty small, and I suppose if I had some burl handy, that might suffice. But I was thinking about using, I don't remember the name of that dangerous process where you use electrical current.
Fractal burning thing.
Yeah.
Is there someone locally I could buy some of that from?
Well, I've actually done quite a bit of that.
Yeah, I have too.
And
What's your name?
I made my own.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, Roger.
But I have to warn you, AAW has come out pretty strongly against that, such that they won't even show pieces that use that technology.
And we know the AAW is never wrong on anything.
Right. It is extremely dangerous. But
if you don't know how to handle electricity, it's not something you want to mess with.
Yeah.
It's interesting that the two of the people that have been killed doing it were electricians.
Yeah.
There's a difference between,
we think we know more than we do.
Well, they understand circuit boxes just fine. They don't understand the electronics of microwave very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
unless you've done RF, it doesn't make a lot of sense to you.
Yeah.
But it's not the voltage that kills you, it's the amperage.
Yeah.
And, when I do it, I'm standing on rubber pads. I've got rubber gloves on, and actually my pros are made chopsticks.
So I think he was asking if you knew of someone who could do that to wood for him.
Or just, have some pieces I could buy that have an interesting pattern that would look good in small samples, as opposed to, something the size of a bowl that, even oak might look interesting in something the size of a bowl. But
Well, the thing about a small piece with a fractal burning, you only need one, one ray,
Yeah.
and that would be enough to light up the entire piece.
That's why I was thinking about it.
Yeah. It's not difficult to do, and you can buy them. You can build your own actual, very reasonable. The key is getting the neon light starter as your power source.
Yeah, basically buy an old neon light transformer and you're there.
Yeah, that's what I use.
Not the bits and pieces of an old microwave, which may still have a charged capacitor in it when you pull it out, which is what's done.
That's one you got to be really careful of. You always short those capacitors unless you want to wear it, unless you want to go across the room.
Yeah.
I assume it's inexpensive to buy a neon light fixture with a broken tube.
Well, you can just buy the transformer. I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
I forget how much they were, but they were cheap, like $25 or something.
And, and you set it up such that who was it? Dave. Oh, he used to live by Bob Tuck. He lives over on the coast now. Dave.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, he's done a lot of it. He's an electrical engineer.
Yeah.
And he showed me how he set his up. And he says, the key is you always have a little capacitor detector, a little thing you buy from Amazon, buy your machine all the time, so you know that there is or is not positively current in the machine when you set it up.
Yeah.
If there is, you discharge it. If there isn't, you go on about your business. I don't know. It looks pretty cool. And for a small plain piece of wood, I think that would be an interesting thing to do. Of course, Harvey, you can turn off your camera now, Harvey.
If you have any information as to somebody's walkthrough that you trust, I'd love to hear about it. I don't know that I want to attempt this, but I would love to read about it, and you can't via the AAW. Already said.
It's an interesting process, because and the way I have mine set up, I touch nothing. I have remote on switch, which is a string. I have a wooden insulating holder for both the electrodes that I clamp in place. So when the machine is running, I'm not touching anything. And you just literally paint the surface with a salt solution where you can't guide, but you can suggest where you'd like the thing to go.
Yeah, the salt basically reduces the resistivity of the wood.
Yeah.
When this first became popular, or hit the airwaves anyway, I can't remember the guy's last name either. Dave, the guy on the coast.
On the coast.
He had some videos. He had some videos that showed exactly how to do it. And I don't know if they're still
if they were YouTube, they're probably still there somewhere.
Yeah, probably are. So you could just Google it. Fractal burning, and
Lichten fractal burning.
Lichtenberg.
That's right.
Yeah.
Lichten.
Yeah. So I was actually involved in writing the article that explained the AAW board's action on fractal burning. I wasn't participating in the decision, but I was on the safety committee. And that was sort of interesting because it seemed to me that the board had overreacted by sort of banning it. And the article kind of had to justify that position. But I did a lot of reading about it to help write the article. And I ended up concluding not that you can't do it safely, but that the risks are less apparent. If you put a 25-inch block of wood on your lathe and you start it spinning, you're going to notice pretty quickly as the speed goes up that it might kill you. The fractal burning apparatus just kind of sits there, and it doesn't look any different if it's just about to kill you. And if you do subtle things that you think won't make a difference, they can make a difference and do you in. So if someone's gonna do it, I think they need the understanding of the technology, and they need to reliably be very careful because the equipment doesn't give you any warning that it's about to shock you.
And there are things like you never use two hands in a process, because if you get the two hands on the process, the straightest connection between this hand and this hand is right through your heart.
Yep, yeah, that's the issue.
And
anybody that's worked with high voltage is taught put one hand in a pocket.
Yeah, the hand in the pocket. It
So-
is interesting, and you know, if you want to do it, it's there's good guidance out there.
But I hate to be completely rigid, but I think he was asking if we knew someone who could do it for him rather than someone who could help him set it up. Maybe I misunderstood.
No, I think you're right. I think Jay's looking for help in doing it.
And we haven't had an answer.
Or maybe you have had an answer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it sounds like it sounds like something I could do myself as long as I'm careful.
I don't know,
I've
Jay.
worked on-
I tell you, if you got a small piece and you want to bring it over, we can play with it, and I can show you. I can show you how I do it. One thing though is the patterns are, you can't, as Mike said, you can't really control what you get, and once you start it, you can't stop it. So the piece could come out looking really nice, or can come out looking really shitty. What kind of wood is it?
Oh, I haven't decided, but it seems like the wood that would lend itself toward adding great character would be wood that started out being pretty plain, right? You know, inexpensive.
I think if you use
even cedar might be a good option.
I was going to suggest just a non-figured maple piece.
Yeah. Can you guys see the picture I have?
Yeah, are those the handles on the left and right side?
Yeah. Okay. So what we have here? These are the electrodes, the clamps from the machine. This is a multi-cord cable that I soldered together to make a single point. And those are my electrodes, and these are the balances that you can see it spreading across the surface there, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See the little fire?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what my system looks like, and you notice there's no hands involved anywhere.
Nice.
That's the safe way to do it.
That's how I do it. It seemed like the least chance of something going south if I'm not touching the process at all. And you know what I'll do is, and you know, it's firing up in the back, so you can start adjusting the voltage to get it to go where you want. And this is one of the first pieces I did, so I just sort of brushed the whole surface with a salt solution. I did some experiments with what kind of salt, and found that the sodium bicarbonate that they recommend still worked better than all the rest of them I tried. But that's fractal burning.
What did you say you use for your remote on-off switch?
Yeah, there's out of the power supply is a light switch cord, and I hooked that up to a little foot pedal, so I can tap on the foot pedal and turn the power on and off.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a fairly new wood turning channel, Sprague Wood Turning, out of Canada, and he does a lot of it. And he doesn't show how to build it, but he shows his setup, and it's a lot like yours. Uses wood blocks so that he's not touching anything, and then uses a sewing machine foot pedal because you just plug in. It's got a plug-in outlet, so you set that away so you can only activate it if you're standing away from the piece.
Sounds like a good way of doing it.
Yeah, I mean the less you have in contact with it, and you have to understand you can't really change what you're going to get. It will be what it will be.
I was going to say, nature takes its course.
Yes, you know, you're trying to control one of the primal forces of nature here, and
Does dry versus wet stock make much difference?
you know, the wood itself didn't seem to make any difference. I tried that. The wet, you would think it would, but it, you know, my results suggested that it doesn't. But wetting the surface does.
Once you paint the surface, will make the difference, because you'd have to drive your electrodes into the middle of the wood to get it to go through the middle of the wood.
Yeah. So what you have to have is a path of least resistance. If you have one wet log, the whole log is conductive. If you have a path of salt solution on the surface, that's the path of least resistance, and that's where it's going to go. So anyway.
So because it's difficult to get the current to run deep in the wood, do you turn it down to close to final dimensions first?
The ones I've done it on have been almost completed projects, yeah. Now you're going to wind up with ash and stuff on the surface. So, you know, I found that a toothbrush with a little pumice on it will clean up the surface very nicely and not take the black out of the dent. And then when you're done, you know, when I was done, I would put a coat of spray lacquer over the burn part, just to sort of seal it in, because you do have this ash path. You know, you have a route of devastation you've created there.
Okay, guys, I'm going to show you another one.
All right.
Ooh.
You have to tell us about the colored part on the other side too, Roger.
This is just a practice piece of doing different kind of stuff, but that's
Yeah,
how
it's
it
burning
works.
from both ends. I like it.
What kind of wood?
It's maple.
Nice.
Oh, that's a good one. Look at that.
That's amazing.
Well, you get that sort of Japanese looking tree, you know, the Asian tree appearance. Boink, done.
So you didn't see that here.
No.
See what, where?
Yeah.
This conversation never happened.
People
What kind of
do
current
treat
are you
these
running
machines
through
like
that?
they're
So I wanted to ask you guys, what do you guys, did you see our demonstrator at our last meeting on working with burls and stuff?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that?
I thought it was great. My challenge is A, finding burls, and B, being good enough to actually do some of the air cutting that he was doing to make that work right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell you one thing that sort of impressed me was on the last piece he did, when he said what he was going to make out of that piece of burl. I just thought there's just no way he's going to get a vase out of that. But as he said, you know, you got to look at it and you sort of have to imagine in your head, you know, what you can make out of them. And for me, I've got a number of pieces of burl that are sitting on the shelf that I can't figure out what to do with them. So I don't know. I thought the video was really well done, and I like the fact that he did a lot of pieces to a certain stage, and then just said, you know, you can finish the rest.
You guys know how to do bowls. Go from here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this starting and working with a burl, to me, it's a challenge.
Well, we
I
live
thought
in
that
kind
was-
of a
Go ahead.
we live in kind of a world-class area for burls with our big leaf maples, so they're available around here. You just got to keep an eye out for them. I never did hear back from that guy who had the street tree that he was planning to remove. He
Is that
never
right?
returned my calls or emails or anything. I think Joel was probably right. He's probably realized it's going to take a while to get a permit. So maybe he'll come back eventually, but there's a lot of burls around here, and those
Is that
big
the
leaf
one in-
maple burls
is
are
that
nice.
the guy in North Portland?
Yeah.
Okay, because he didn't answer the phone or respond to messages to me either.
Yeah, okay, that's too bad. That one thing that in the past I've read articles on that where people harvest burls off of live trees, and that's extremely illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you get caught, I don't know what the fine is, but it's a big fine. So
Hit the tree, won't it?
you'll kill the tree, yeah, almost always.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're taking out half of the food system for the tree. It's gonna kill half the tree.
Yeah. I don't know.
There's
There are burl suppliers. I know Dale has a supplier in down south. I'm not sure who it is, but I mean he'll buy them by the ton. Seems like
the Oregon burl hunter He's got a pretty big YouTube channel down. I think he's in Medford area.
Okay.
He doesn't
His
have anything to
supply
work
might
with
be a
now.
little charred now.
Yeah. Only dry blanks, yeah.
So what are you working on, Jason? You got
Working on a live edge cherry bowl.
Nice.
So I've got quite a supply going out of this one tree that Joel and I went and got. I think I've turned 4 or 5 live edge bowls out of it in the last 2 weeks.
what kind of wood?
It was from an ornamental cherry. So it was almost 3 foot diameter. So it was a nice piece. It was pretty rotten at the base and the core. So we lost some of the wood from that, but it's doing pretty well.
Mm.
This is my last piece.
So it's very green, huh?
Yes.
So are you rough turning them or are you turning them thin?
I'm finished turning them. With the live edge, I don't mind it warping. And I needed to get through it because my dad's also bringing me a supply of pecan logs from Oklahoma next week.
Oh,
So
fun.
Wow.
And I've got a white oak log from the windstorm a couple of weeks ago that's in the backyard. So I'm trying to get through stuff as fast as possible.
He's not planning to bring that through California, is he?
No.
Because they get real upset about that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, my dad doesn't care about stuff like that.
The Californians do.
No, but the Californian border will.
Yep.
Well,
Trying to
it's
get
going to
it
be in
into
an
the city.
enclosed trailer.
So I've never
So
worked
I'll
with
probably
pecan
have some
wood.
extra. I was planning on sharing some with the club. If anyone wants some, or if we ever get back to meetings, I'll bring some for the club auctions.
Nice.
Yeah.
Does anyone turn pecan wood?
Yeah, it's nice. It can be sort of like hickory. It can be very hard, but it's sharp tools and pay attention, and it turns out very well.
It is a type of hickory, and they use it a lot in Texas, of course, since that's where it's mostly from. But once it dries, they call it Pecan Creek because it gets so hard.
Wow.
Maybe make good tool handles.
Yep.
Also, it's dandy flooring.
Oh yeah.
Dumb question.
Yeah.
I put it on the chat, but that's very pretty.
This is the one I had. The only bowl I did anything significant on.
Oh.
With the fractal burning stuff.
Yeah. But you can see it. It just sort of goes where it wants to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't have chat open.
Oh. It was just a dumb question about the boxes of turning blanks.
Ah.
The 10 one has bigger blanks. It has 7-inch blanks, whereas the 5 one just has up to 6-inch blanks.
Oh, okay. I was trying to figure out if there were, if the blanks were bigger or if there was better figure on them or what.
No, it was actually not entirely random. The 10 boxes will have at least one 7x7 blank. I think the 10 is one 7x7, 2 3 6s, and then 5s for the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's figured, they're all figured. If it's the non-figured box, the non-figured, you sort of get what you get. But I haven't seen an ugly piece of wood in that pile yet.
No,
I've seen just about every piece personally. So
yeah, you're making the boxes. When we did the open shop, I bought a half dozen of the walnut and a half dozen of the non-figured maple, but I want to make 6 a 6-bowl set. I was figuring I need a couple more, so I'm sort of curious whether I should get a couple of the 5 sets and save myself $3, or get the bigger ones, get the bigger box. What? Yeah, $3 is $3.
$3. Come on.
At $80, $3 isn't going to make a difference.
No. And it, you know, the thing is, even the non-figured wood is figured.
Yeah.
Les's bar for figure, it was very high. And I have yet to see a piece in there that does not have some sort of figure in it. And you just have to know to turn to that figure instead of turning it away. So,
And that's something I still need to learn.
well, you know, you just study the piece of wood, and it reveals itself after you get that sort of one with the wood moment, and you know what
Well,
it's.
that's why I want to get some extras before I start wiping
Not
out
bad.
the good stuff.
A good idea. Are you making a salad bowl set with a one big one and
Yeah.
small ones?
Yeah, I've got some bigger pieces of maple to turn the big salad bowl out of, and bigger pieces of walnut. But I wanted to get a little practice before I started turning something.
Yeah, I have a niece getting married in December, so I have the salad bowl and small bowl set.
Yeah. No, my daughter's getting married in February, but it's not that. She wants a bar cart, so I'm gonna have to make a bar cart.
Hard to turn one of those.
My lathe ain't big enough.
Oh, the
Mike,
box, the box things are still a great deal.
Oh yeah, no, they're a
think
good
we'll-
deal. I was just trying to decide which way to go with the, you know,
Always buy
I-
more
I-
than you think you need. I mean, that's the rule of thumb, isn't it?
yeah. Well, and the short answer is I sold a pet urn for $50. And it's like, okay, I can go get myself another box. I was planning on getting a couple boxes anyway, but you know, now I can maybe step up to the 10-piece box.
Yeah, I think what we're gonna, I think we sort of Larry and Click and I were out there, and his wife Jan were putting boxes together, and we just sort of stopped until we see where things are going to go. But Roger, did he send you that picture of the tobacco boxes?
Yeah.
Well, my question is there a way to say, gee, I'd like a box that's got more walnut in it than maple?
Nope.
That's sort of what I was figuring.
There is still some open stock. There's very little walnut left, but walnut is everywhere around here, so that's really not a problem. There's still open stock, so you know the next store sale or the next open wood sale, you still be able to buy, you know, from the loose stock. But
and we do plan on having an open shop again. So
yeah. Well, I was just if I put in an order for 2 or 3 boxes of blanks, is that just going to be come and pick it up someplace somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. At the next whenever, you know, my hope is that Dave Wood is not going to get tired of being the, you know, resource center for Northwest woodturners. He says no. His wife says he's loving this, so great. But I would like to give him his shop back as soon as we could.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is I was going to go ahead and order, you know, the boxes and get at least get those 2 or 3 out of his file.
Yeah, I think what we may wind up doing is, because Dave is still gone for another week or so, if there's a day we can set up for people that have ordered boxes to come pick them up.
Okay.
You know, I can go out and meet people there, or Larry, or both of us, or
as I say, just put somebody's name on the 3 boxes and have them pick them up, or 2 or 3 boxes or whatever.
We've done well with Roger has ordered some, and his are set aside, and Sarah Livingston has ordered everything, so hers are set aside.
So we're looking at possibly next Saturday, but October 24th, I think, is a date that for sure we're going to have.
Another open shop.
So October 24th, we're looking at having the store like we did at the Mac Center this summer, because some people have ordered things from the store, and at the same time, anyone who needs to pick up wood would do that. Possibly next Saturday. We're still working on that with Larry, but then we'll see what we have left.
Isn't
So
October
how do I,
24th
if I want a
also?
box, if
Isn't
I want one
October
of these
24th
boxes, how
also
do
a
I order
class?
it?
Sorry, one at a time.
Just say, Dean, go. You got the same question I had.
Dean?
Yeah, if I want to order a box, how would I go about that? Is it on our website?
Yeah.
So just place a shop order. an open shop, an order through the shop?
Yeah, online.
Online, okay.
There's one page for CA glue and sandpaper, and there's another page for the wood.
Wood sale.
And so how many pieces of wood are in the box that you put together, and how much does it cost?
Either 5 pieces of non-figured for 30, or 10 pieces of non-figured for $30, or 10 pieces of figured for
83.
60. Is it 83? Okay, 80. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. No, the 5 boxes of it's got to be 63 because it was $60 or $30 for 5.
Yeah, that's what I thought. 63.
Yeah, 63. For some reason I had 83 in my mind.
But that's all on the website. Is that what you're saying? All right, good.
Yeah, my reason for asking is there was a $3 difference between buying 2 of the smaller boxes and 1 of the larger boxes of figured stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, is there a difference? And the answer is yes, there's at least 1 piece that's bigger.
Yeah, the math didn't quite work out like you said. Good.
Before we hang up, I wanted to tap the group knowledge, especially you, Mike, because I know that you have a vacuum set up. I'm going to attempt to make a pen blank out of stabilized watermelon, the pink part. And there's a YouTube channel or a guy with like an Oklahoma or something like that accent called Addicted to Cactus Juice, and he drops bizarre stuff you wouldn't think of in cactus juice and cooks it. And unless he's being satirical, it looks like it might work. And I wanted to ask the collective, do you think I should just drop it in? Do you think I should try to dry the water content out of the watermelon meat first? Is it just up to me to experiment and see what works?
I have stabilized a lot of different things. Never thought of watermelon. Gotta admit that one.
What kind of things do you need to do to stabilize?
Well, you need the cactus juice. What you're doing is displacing the air in the wood and any water that's left with this cactus juice. It's a plasticizing material, and you do it under a vacuum. So you submerge your stuff in the cactus juice, put it under a vacuum, let it evacuate the air. You'll see the bubbles just eventually stop. When the bubbles stop, let it run for another couple hours. And then as soon as you break the vacuum, if you watch the level of the cactus juice, you just see it go drop straight down. So you put the vacuum in the wood, and the vacuum sucks the juice into the wood, let it drain off, heat it at 180 degrees for a couple hours to harden the cactus juice, and you have a stabilized piece of wood.
Okay, so basically you need a vacuum pump, some kind of pressure pot or vacuum pot.
Yeah, and an oven of some sort. Not your oven in the kitchen. Okay,
a toaster oven works just fine.
Toaster oven works just fine.
Okay, because unfortunately I think I just got rid of a countertop convection oven that would have been perfect for it.
Yeah, well.
Oh well.
But that you gotta show us what you come up with, Jay, because that's strange.
Okay. Yeah, a colleague found out she has breast cancer, and I bought one of those breast cancer pens from Penn State Industries, and I thought I could go with a pink acrylic pen blank, but then I thought the watermelon might be more interesting and have a similar color.
I'd say that's true. Yeah.
I think it does require that it be dry before you can do that.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see what happens with the colors as it dries, and if it will hold its shape as it dries, or
it will shrink significantly as it dries. I've watched watermelon dehydrate. Yeah. It tends to get about a third of its size.
Sure.
Yeah, leave the seeds in. That'll be an interesting thing.
Yeah, until you hit one with a tool.
No, they cut it straight through. It's like I did a pine cone one time, and you cut down through it, and there was some pine nuts still left in it, and you get this cross section of the nut. Probably the most interesting thing I did, I made an aluminite peppermill blank out of the tops of acorns. just the caps,
Mhm.
pack these things in there and cast them in Alumilite. So as you turn it, you wind up with every conceivable angle through the acorn top. So it's really an interesting little effect. I've seen people do pasta with it, same thing.
Well, speaking of strange turnings, I'll end with this. Bill Larson showed us at the Cascade meeting a bowl that he made out of cherry pits.
Yes.
So he had all these cherry pits and put them in epoxy, made a block, turned the bowl out of it, and it looks different. That's
Yeah.
good.
That was diplomatic. Well done.
It was the pit, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, an experiment that didn't necessarily go right.
Well, it worked just fine. The product was just not what you were looking for.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for joining today. We'll
Thank
start
you.
once a month and go out and turn something today.
Have a good weekend,
Yeah,
everyone.
I gotta do
Stay safe.
some napkin rings. I gotta figure out how to do those.
Try to make small
I'm
holes
on it.
go through the bottom. That works every time.
Make some round and cut through the bottom. Yeah.
Pretend you're making a box,
Well, what I thought is I get like 3/4 of it, and then drill it out, and then finish. Then turn it.
That's cheating. Okay, guys, take care.